Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So before I get started, I would like to give Fred Brenton a shout out. Fred came by today and asked if he could take me out to lunch and roll some ideas across. Very knowledgeable guy, knows a lot about the construction market. He's an inventor. He's helped many people start some businesses. So I really encourage you to go check out Fred Brenton's website. Go see what he has going on. Very much in the same line of thinking that a lot of us are in. And so if you're, the business-oriented type of person and interested in doing some networking, I would check out Fred Brenton. He is a very nice guy. And I appreciate you taking me out to lunch today. So I thought I'd give you a shout out here on the video. So thank you. Thought I'd talk a little bit about Evergrande. Evergrande has sparked off a contagion effect that right now the Federal Reserve is warning about causing a global financial crisis. Now, this is the situation that has taken place in Evergrande. When Evergrande started to fail, the real estate market started getting shocked to the point that this was like a no-lose situation to you are definitely going to lose if you're participating in the real estate market. That has a lot of corporations out there in China who are beginning to have very serious issues with their bonds and paying back their bond holders. Now, from what I understand, a lot of these corporations didn't exactly report their debt in an accurate way. So they have a lot more debt than what a lot of people had originally believed that they did. The credit rating agencies are downgrading these guys like crazy. So they are going into junk status or even deeper into junk status, which is causing the yields to rise dramatically. When those yields rise, those corporations have a heck of a time trying to roll their old debt into new debt or just take on new debt in order to function and operate. When they get to that point, they are starting to fail. That contagion effect can start to spread because these corporations are basically leveraged off of each other. So for example, when Evergrande would pay their contractors, these guys were building huge buildings. So not only did they build like a giant skyscraper, they would build several of them, right? The people that they would hire were these giant contractors themselves. So when they would pay some of these contractors, they would pay them in something called commercial paper, which has a face value. Like, say, for example, you receive some commercial paper, it has a face value of $100, but it matures in a year. You might receive it for, say, $97. So if you held on to it for the entire year, you would make some money off of holding this commercial paper. You could cash it in right now and get you $97, or you can hold it until maturity and get, $100. A lot of these contractors were paid in this commercial paper. Well, this commercial paper starts losing value because Evergrande can't pay. So when you go to cash in this commercial paper, instead of getting $97 or $98 or even $100, if you held on to a maturity, people might say give you 50 cents on the dollar for it, or even less. Well, now this commercial paper is sitting on their balance sheet. So you think about it, you're a corporation, you're a contractor, you're contracted with Evergrande to, construct this building. You've been paid in commercial paper. You have that commercial paper on your balance sheet. So when the credit rating looks at you, you have this commercial paper which says that you're going to have all this value on this asset sheet because Evergrande's going to pay this commercial paper. Well, when that gets downgraded, now your balance sheet is showing that you have less assets, which makes your credit rating less, which means that it makes it even more difficult for you to borrow money, which puts you in the same position as Evergrande. And this is the type of contagion that starts spreading throughout the rest of the world. And that is something that I feel the Federal Reserve is very worried about. And that is the reason why I feel that the dollar is going to strengthen into the future. Because if we have more debt crisis issue like this, there is going to be a cash crunch, meaning that there is not enough cash out there, enough paper, dollars, to cover all these debts. And like you're seeing with Evergrande and some of these other corporations, they are selling their assets in order to come up with those dollars in order to pay their bondholders. These are all done in US dollars. Think about it. It's Chinese corporations working in China using Chinese companies, but doing all the debt in dollars. That is the reason why we are going to see a serious dollar bubble. If these debts begin to fail and all these people try to get out of it, they are all going to be rushing for dollars at the exact same time. Think about this, guys. This is something that can start spreading throughout the entire world. This could turn into a serious global financial crisis. Again, I don't necessarily feel that Evergrande was the black swan event, but you can see the issues that are arising, and those things could get worse, much worse. So go and look at the US dollar index right now. Go and look at the strength of the US dollar comparatively to a basket of world currencies. If you go and compare that chart for the last 2 or 3 decades, you are going to see that there is just a few times in history that the dollar was stronger than it is today, comparatively to the basket of world currencies. The US dollar index is strengthening. It is up since June. Right? This is during a time when everybody is saying that inflation is running rampant. Yes, it is. Inflation is running rampant if you are looking at prices. But something that I have looked at as far as inflation is the increasing or the expansion of debt and money. Think about that. The expansion of debt is inflationary. Prices are the results of that inflation. A lot of people want to look at prices and say, there's the inflation. Look at the inflation. I don't look at it like that. I look at the creation of debt. If there is more creation of debt taking place, that is inflationary. The results are the prices. If Evergrande begins to fail, if these corporations begin to fail, if this contagion effect starts spreading throughout the rest of the world and they're all looking for dollars in order to pay off these bonds, that is going to be a destruction of credit, a destruction of debt. Central banks around the world are talking about pulling back on the easy money policies. That is contraction of debt. That is going to be a deflationary scenario. Anytime they ever have a contraction, not every time, but when they do the contractions, it starts creating the recessions. It starts creating the pain. And that is something I think we all should probably look very closely at. Like I said, I said it a long time ago, you need to keep an eye on the Chinese bond market. Once that begins to fail, I feel that it will start spreading throughout the rest of the world. Right now, here in the United States, we have the safe, secure government sovereign debt that has corporate debt, the junk-rated corporate debt, very close in yield. That is a dangerous spot to be in. Any reversal in that is going to send those junk bonds into the toilet. The yields on them are far too low for the risk. And that is going to be a very dangerous situation. When the risk becomes too much for the investors to buy into and their yields begin to rise, we are going to see the same defaults that is occurring in China taking place here in the United States. That's when the pension funds are really going to start getting scared. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know. Thanks again, Fred, for the lunch. I really appreciate it.